When she was leaving Laos, she had to do that whole thing where in the middle of the night, when there's no moon, jumping into the Mekong River to go cross it over to Thailand. Doing this in the middle of the night because the commies were shooting at people trying to defect and whatnot. Oh yeah, give me your gold, I'll go exchange it and bring you back the money. Guy runs away with the money. What do? I'm gonna die here and all that stuff. I remember my grandmother throwing me into dumpsters to go collect cans as a kid. That was not good. I don't really care what I do, but I will never be that poor ever again in my life. He looked me in the eye one day and said, Johnny, if you act like a dog, you speak like a dog, everybody's going to treat you like a dog. You need to fix this. I really took that to heart. I don't want people treating me bad just because I don't speak well. I'm an enabler. I enable other people to reach their potential and to achieve their dreams and the success that they say they want to get to. At the end of the day, it's the power that comes with the freedom to choose your own destiny. Not being told or not having that mentality of, I can't do this, I can't do that. My job is really to support, cultivate the ecosystem so that one day, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years, we're here for the long term. And we're trying to get you from 2 locations or 10 locations to thousands of locations. We're a supporter for everybody in the landscape. And if we can be the one to do that little extra that allows them to get that jet fuel and supercharged, then that's what we're here for.
Greater Good Radio, connect, learn, heal, and grow, is brought to you by Brain Gain Hawaii, a boutique executive recruiting, career development, and coaching firm. Learn more at braingainhi.com. Welcome to Greater Good Radio. Today we're here with Johnny Chankhamany, Executive Director at Builders VC and President at Akamai Foundation. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
For someone that doesn't know you, how would you describe who you are and what you do?
That's the hard question right there. So currently in my role at Builders VC, I support, startups, techies, founders, all that stuff in Hawaii, trying to build up-level the ecosystem out here. At Akamai Foundation, I'm a instructor, mentor, helping local students to get jobs on Wall Street in high finance. I guess if we were to condense all of that into like who I am, what do I do? I'm an enabler, right? I mean, I enable other people to reach their potential and to, achieve their dreams and the success that they say they want to get to.
Like an accelerator. I would say more like an accelerator.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So on the Akamai side, it's helping students get to the mainland and Wall Street type, investment banking, that kind of job.
Right.
And then on the VC side, is it like deal flow too, or is it mentorship or relationships, or what is it?
More relationships, I think, and not so much deal flow. We're Series A investor, and we don't really have a lot of Series A companies coming out from Hawaii that we would be able to invest in. So my job is really to support, cultivate the ecosystem so that one day, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years, we're here for the long term. And at that point, hopefully we have critical mass of Series A investable companies coming out. And then we would be able to invest in some of those companies. So a lot of mentorship, supporting with resources and meeting with people, getting them to think about larger entrepreneurial endeavors rather than just what's going on in their backyard. Because we got lots of entrepreneurs in Hawaii and they're comfortable wherever they're at. But for the VC side, we're trying to get you to, from 2 locations or 10 locations to thousands of locations. So just, working with local entrepreneurs, local techies, of increasing that top of funnel into this type of entrepreneurship.
So what would you say is like the best example of a success story from Hawaii that would be an example of like what you're trying to accomplish?
Ooh.
It doesn't mean that you have to be involved
Right.
with it, but just in general, like this is what we're talking about.
We go back and there's companies like Fair Harbor, right? Cheap Tickets. You're my generation, so you remember Cheap Tickets used to be
Yep.
at kiosk, Kapiolani Boulevard, selling paper tickets and whatnot. They were able to, in the internet age, they saw that coming and going away from paper tickets and the online reservations and whatnot. They were able to go out, get a lot of money, get a lot of funding, grow. They wound up selling to a bunch of different travel companies. I think Expedia finally wound up with them or something.
I think they got really lucky because they had just done that internet switch, right?
Right.
And then I think that they did their sale or whatever just before it crashed.
Yeah.
That first
Yeah.
one crash,
Yeah. There was Fair Harbor was another one that came after that.
What is that, Fair Harbor? I didn't even hear about
like
that.
activity reservations.
Oh.
Like, So I believe the founders were from Hawaii, or they were out here for a long time as well.
Is that recent or?
I want to say within the last 10, 12 years, maybe.
Oh.
Those are the two that come to mind. There's a bunch of other like CPG type companies, but for what we do, we don't really invest in CPGs. So our buddy Chung, right, he talks about Panda Express and their beginnings at Ala Moana's food court.
That was their first one?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was their first
like
one.
California or something, yeah?
It probably was California first, but what launched them into the stratosphere was they were kitty cornered to Patty's Chinese Kitchen.
Oh.
And Patty's had, done the whole scoop and serve and, that style of plate lunch, like, cafeteria line, whatever, and super efficient. Everybody lining up for that. And then on the other side, you've got Panda, and, their line's not as long, and they just didn't have the right offering, if you will. And it's like, wow, they're doing really good stuff over there. They got this giant line. We got to copy what they're doing. So they copied it and they rolled it out everywhere else. And that became kind of,
So they used Patty as an example?
I mean, they saw Patty's doing super well and them not so much. And then they kind of just instituted that and rolled out with it, and everybody loved it.
That's interesting, because that's a huge corp now. That thing looks really well run.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because when I was in high school, I convinced my friend on the football team that my mom was Patty. And anytime he wants to go down there, just ask for her.
Yeah.
And tell her that she knows me and he can get a discount. So he went down.
Did it work?
He comes back, he's like, hey, I went down there and they said they didn't know who you were. I was like, you're talking to the wrong person. I sent him back again, and then
That's awesome.
yeah, he was not happy. But I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
I thought it was funny.
for sure.
So what would you say, like, some of the highlights from, because you've been doing this for a couple years now?
On the VC side, this is my fourth year.
Oh, fourth year?
Yeah.
Wow, time has flown,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your highlight in the past 4 years of doing that kind of work?
It would probably be on the ThriveHI nonprofit side. So we co-founded ThriveHI, this nonprofit to support.
Oh, so that
ecosystem
comes out of
development.
Builders?
Well, my contribution
Oh.
and whatnot. So Builders, we're kind of supporting ThriveHI through my work
Oh, okay.
there. Because the same work that ThriveHI is doing, I need to do at Builders as well. So I get to
And the focus of ThriveHI is what?
startup and tech ecosystem development.
Oh, okay.
Right? So exact same mission as Builders in Hawaii. So we get to feed two
Kind of
birds.
what HTDC is supposed to be doing.
Right. So
Yeah.
ThriveHI came about because we had seen that HTDC wasn't able to and wasn't doing a lot of things that we thought were necessary to support the ecosystem. So we decided, hey, yeah, let's get together and do this, and plug in some of the holes and be the glue that brings a lot of people together. So yeah, that's how ThriveHI came about. And
So now that Trung is at HTDC, does ThriveHI go under HTDC, or how does that work?
no, we're still an outside organization, and not being in HTC or any other governmental org or whatever allows us to be more nimble, a lot quicker, and we can do things that they wouldn't be able to do. So we're a supporter for everybody in the landscape, right? So whether it's Blue Startups or it's Mana Up or Elemental or whatever, right? There's certain things that they can't do because of their mission or their funding or whatever, and if we can be the one that to do that little extra that allows them to get that jet fuel and supercharged, then that's what we're here
Like,
for.
what would a success story be?
We hold this event called Pitch Karaoke. It's so no singing required for this, right? And the reason why it's called Pitch Karaoke is because the same energy and fear that someone who's pitching their next great investment idea in front of a group of investors or strangers, it's kind of the same energy and fear you need to get over when you're singing karaoke in a lounge in front of strangers. That was kind of the reason for that naming. And
Except that some people, they want to grab that mic and it's like, oh man, give it back.
that does happen,
Yeah.
and that's great when it does. Just shows their passion and commitment, right? So we've been running this thing. We used to do it, monthly. We switched it over to quarterly, but we've had a couple of individuals that came in to pitch ideas. Some of them have been noodling on an idea for years. Some just rolled out of bed the week prior, put together a little slide deck and submitted it, and then they pitched. And they went from that pitch. They got, feedback from the audience or whatever, whether it was positive or negative or constructive. And they went from there to, hey, I got really good feedback and I want to pursue this and continue going down this road. So they worked on it a little more. Lo and behold, they got accepted into, accelerators like Blue Startups, and then went off and he took like second place at the East Meets West pitch competition that year. So within a 9-month span, he went
Which
from
company was that?
Umi. It's a language learning app.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So within like this 9-month span, he went from taking this idea out of his head, pitching it into a group of strangers, applying to an accelerator, getting accepted, pitching at this East Meets West global competition and taking second place, right? So increasing that top of funnel of just entrepreneurs that are willing to pursue, right, this idea.
So you
of
finding
business.
that like there's a lot of that kind of local grown talent here or what? Or that would actually be here? Because there's a lot of local grown talent that's on the mainland doing this type of work, but not here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to take a while. And a lot of the work that I do is supporting the university students so that we can increase the top of funnel on that side of people that can actually code or do code in, Silicon Valley startup code, not code for mid back office IT work type stuff.
And what do you think about all the vibe coding stuff like Lovable and Claude Code and you know what I mean? Which makes it now almost anyone can kind of do it.
I mean, it's great. It's definitely providing more opportunity for smaller teams to build fast, build without spending a lot of money. And you can have a 2-person team build something and ship to product and get paying customers. You can go from 0 to $1 million in ARR in less than 3 months now.
Yeah.
Right. It's amazing. And it's something that helps to level the playing field where you've got, maybe it's a college student who might not have all the skills to build something on their own, but they can vibe code it and get to something that will be good enough to get to the next level.
So you seeing that the students that you guys are helping get trained for Wall Street jobs in Akamai, right? Which is how we initially know each other.
Right.
My son, you let him into Akamai. You've been a great mentor to him, so I got to thank you for that. And you see that those types of jobs as the entry level are going to be shrinking because of AI and the changes, or you see them as staying the same in terms of the amount or difficultness in getting them, you know what I mean? Or what do you see?
I mean, the roles as we know it at that entry level are going to shrink and they're going to change. But like a lot of those entry level roles are going to be repurposed to something else. I think that this past week, like OpenAI came out and, they announced that they hire like 100 bankers or iBankers to just build models, their financial models to feed into OpenAI. So, I mean, the financial models.
Just training material.
Training material, right?
Oh.
So to feed OpenAI and their foundational models, how to build valuation models, pricing models, dividend discount, all that, whatever stuff. So the entry-level analysts.
To be used eventually for banking functions in a professional or like
pretty much
enterprise way.
Yeah. So a lot of these entry-level analysts that go to the investment bank, like they're not going to be doing a lot of the model building anymore. You still need a human in the loop to enter the assumptions, to model check, to check all the numbers or whatever. But a lot of times, like that takes a lot of time to build that model. But if you can, press a button and enter some input and it's done in 30 seconds, that's great. You can then go focus on the other grunt work of, moving over your PowerPoint presentation by 1 pica or whatever. And then there's also like studies that have come out saying like McDonald's installed a ton of kiosks thinking this is going to reduce their expenses. Yeah, so reduce expenses because you don't need so many cashiers anymore, right? The study came out and said they wound up spending more on labor because, yes, people were ordering on the kiosk or on the app. You had less cashiers, but they wound up having to hire more food runners, right? Because now the volume kicked up and they didn't have people to take the food from the kitchen out to the customer, the kitchen out to the people that are waiting out on the
That'll
curbside.
be there until the robots take over for that.
And so that as well, right? So it's just kind of repurposing, trying to figure out how do we navigate or how do we land in this new landscape. If you go back, 25 or so years, Pixar came out and they were animating, they basically killed the whole industry of illustrators who are doing by hand, right? Because everybody's now computer animation. But those folks were able to adapt, or some of them were able to adapt and get different jobs in that industry. And there's still that niche industry of, by hand only animators. But yeah, I mean, we'll just figure it out.
So what would you say that? What are you telling you have a cohort running now or
I
for
do.
Akamai?
Yep.
Like what do you tell them are the most important skills you're going to need now? Because before it was like curriculum of modeling and all that, what's the most important stuff that you need to have now?
Well, on the technical side, we're still training the modeling. We're still training everything as we did because it's, yes, you can use a model to build a financial model, but you still have to understand how it works. It's no different than we've got calculators that can do math for you now, but if you don't know how to punch in the numbers, like it's not going to work. And same with Excel, right? When Excel came out, like, oh, we're no longer doing accounting on paper anymore. Like we have this. So at the end of the day, the thing that really drives success in these Akamai students is we're building their grit, their persistence, their adaptability. So these are just general traits that allow them, whether they're going to be on the M&A team or on the trading team or in HR at an investment bank, it doesn't matter. It's just that ability for them to quickly view the problem in front of them, break it down in smaller pieces, and work from there. So they're not a one-trick
it's more like
pony.
problem-solving skills versus like rote skills.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need some of those rote skills because it builds, right? They got to be able to do some of that work. But if you're going to like investment banking, you don't know what group you're going to be in. Like you go through the internship and whatnot. At the end, the different teams will talk about who did they want to pick on their team. So you may go in thinking, I'm going to be the foreign exchange trader, but that team doesn't want you. The M&A team wants you. It's like, well, I don't know M&A. I did my internship on trading, but that adaptability, the ability to learn quickly.
So how you train that?
It's more on the grit side, right? Just giving them tons and tons of work and seeing how they react in that environment.
So like throw the baby in the water and see if it swims. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the drill sergeant as these new cadets are being bussed in, screaming and hollering them as they're coming out. And it's not for everybody. And, investment banking to begin with is 100+ hour a week job. And for some of these students, if they can't handle the 8 hours a week of this, they're not going to be able to survive that.
You tell them that up front?
Oh, yeah.
Are the stats still the same? Because I remember the stats before, like when I tell people is 20% make it through the program, but out of those 20%, 100% get a Wall Street type of job.
Yep.
Still same?
Still same.
Okay.
Yep.
So 80% will drop, and then 20% can make it through.
Mm-hmm.
And those ones are the one. It's like who makes it through Navy SEALs buds or something.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And then, so of the ones that make it through, what's the number one characteristic you see them share? Like if you're going to profile them and you go, oh, that one. Can you almost pick it out like that one?
Pretty maybe. Much. I mean, it's pretty easy to spot the students that, just get stuff done. Like they don't really understand what they're doing. A lot of times they're so confused. They're given so much information. So much stuff is going on, being force-fed with a fire hose. A lot of students are like, that's just too much. I can't do it. I quit. I walk away. But there's some that are like, I don't really understand what's going on, but they're putting in the effort to try to figure it out. And it's those students that are trying to figure it out that make it.
So do you see that if you took those ones, those 20%, and then you put them into a group, what would be something that they all have in common about their upbringing?
What do they all have in common? I don't think there is anything in common. I mean, we've got students that are the silver spoon-fed ones. We've got the students that came from first generation and whatever. I don't know if I can pinpoint anything.
Okay, let me try to stress test my hypothesis on this, okay, with you. So my theory, because I do quite a bit of coaching, and the thing that I find that especially amongst high performers, highly functional, high achiever, but then now is kind of, breaking down or burning out or, their health something or something's up, you know what I mean? The fuel that they use to get through all of that initially was shame. So shame is like, I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. So I'm being morally judged and I'm going to prove, no. I am good enough. I'm going to show you and so on. And that has been kind of the fuel. That is, if I had to say for all of them, I have not met one of them that has not used that as their primary source of fuel. At least until now.
I don't know if I can say it's shame for all the students. I mean, we've got some students like Dylan Zhang who thought he was not going to make it. That is one of the sleepers that surprised me. He started off with us as a high school senior from McKinley High School. Super quiet kid. He's hardly said anything in the classes ever. And, he had a rough upbringing in terms of the family wasn't the best off. His father got injured on the work site. And, while going to college, Dylan had to help his father with a lot of the work that he was doing. So he wouldn't lose his job by not being able to make deliveries and whatever. And a lot of those providing for the family, right, was a big thing for him.
So that would still be in there though, because that would be like, I don't want to let my family down. If I let my family down, I suck. You know what I mean? I'm bad. I'm not a good son.
Right.
Something's wrong with me. I'm not filling up to my family's role. I'm dishonoring them. You know what I mean? Same exact feel.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that is in there. If anything, I think for a lot of the Hawaii students that are in the program with me, it's just they continue because it becomes normal for them after a certain time, a certain period of time. If they stick with it long enough, they'll just do whatever they're told. It's kind of like going to sports as a kid or whatever. Like they don't always want to go. They're like, I don't want to go to practice today. I don't want to do this, whatever. It's like you're doing
They fall into a routine.
They fall into a routine. And
So the hard thing on that is if the routine becomes more than what their bodies can handle eventually. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you cannot do 100-hour at that kind of pace work. Like I would be dead.
right.
I would die. Like if I tried to do that right now, and there's no way I could pull that. Could you pull it off, you think? That kind of hours, that pace with the rest of your life and try to keep it together?
I don't know about the rest of my life, but I'm kind of at that pace and I've been running that way for a while now. And yeah, the body is falling apart.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, without the wheels falling off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of hard, I think.
The thing is, we don't want these students, these individuals to be investment bankers for life unless they want to be. At the end of the day, I tell them as they're coming in, like, whether you decide to stay in an investment bank or not, that's your choice. But what we're trying to get you is get you in the door into this industry, right? And then from there, whether you accept the offer or not, that's up to you. My job is done. I help you to get that offer. And we've had students that have gone through, they've got an offer at an investment bank that's going to pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And they said, you know what, I don't want to do this.
Oh, yeah? And what they do instead?
One guy decided to open up a taco cart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's that doing?
He wound up selling his taco cart. He then went to travel the world, learn how to cook different cuisines. He has his own business and he's a private caterer for like luxury catering stuff. At the end of the day, right, it's the power that comes with the freedom to choose your own destiny, right? Not being told or not having that mentality of, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, or I have to do this because, you know, I need to make the monthly bill payment, I got to do this or whatever, and settling for that. But for these individuals who want more and want to provide for their families and whatnot, you have the opportunity around to make a go of it, make a try of it, see if it's right for you, then great. And for a lot of students, they decide to stay in the industry. Some of them exit quickly and says, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to come home back to Hawaii, and then look at what opportunities are available in Hawaii, transition to a really high paying job for Hawaii standards. And then they're back home with their families and in their community again. We just had one with Isaiah Sabi's at a Kamehameha school now. And I love his story because he's our first student who has made the full round trip.
Like a boomerang.
Yeah, it's basically
I remember
how
he was
Akamai
in the
was
same
founded.
cohort that my son was in.
So Luis Perez, he's Native Hawaiian from Waianae, and he created his program because he wanted a Native Hawaiian who went through Kamehameha schools and was a beneficiary of, you know, the trust and the assets and all the great things that came with it, to go away, cut their teeth in the world, and then be able to come back, work at the endowment, and become a steward for future generations. Because
So was it initially funded by Kamehameha schools? No? Oh.
So a beneficiary of those assets, being able to come back and be a steward of them for future generations, you have more connection to the future beneficiaries and what work you're doing, like why this matters. In business, in finance, we get stuck a lot of times in like, oh, up 10%, down 10%. We're just looking at numbers and we forget sometimes, like when the numbers are going up or down, who does that affect downstream, right? Like it's not just, oh, my bonus, my commission or whatever. Like, no, when we're losing money or whatever, this affects future students, future individuals. There's a real repercussion there. Or if we're going to invest in something, like we can invest in a shopping mall in Ohio, or we can invest in something local, you know, same return profile, same risk profile. Like the local one will provide for jobs here, and there's extra double, triple bottom line stuff that goes into that as well. And so, you know, being able to take that into consideration because you're from the community, you understand where those dollars are going and where they come from.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you end up getting involved with Akamai initially?
I was a student in the program, like back in college.
Like an undergrad?
Undergrad level.
Oh, wow. When did you graduate high school?
98.
Oh, so you're pretty young still.
I don't know about that.
So it was in early 2000s then. So you met Lewis that way, and then you were learning on those Bloomberg terminals that he bought?
Lewis started Akamai in 2001. I came in around 2004. I was a journeyman student because my
You were a finance major or what?
originally was a computer science major.
Oh.
So I originally went to Manoa for computer science. My family's business, we ran Thai restaurants in Maui for a long time.
Did you have a bunch of them or how many?
So my family had 2, and then we had my uncle who had another 2 or 3, and then bringing family members over from Laos, from the country or whatever, training them in house, giving them some seed capital to open up their own. So yeah, we had a bunch of those with our family members and whatnot. But yeah, I had to go back to Maui to help run the business because we didn't have enough employees. Went to Maui Community College as a result of that after transferring from Manoa. What was supposed to be like 1 semester, like, hey, come help us for 1 semester and go back and finish your studies at UH. Wound up taking a lot longer because we just didn't have.
What year was that?
It was early 2000s. Probably like 2 years into college, I got pulled back.
Right after that first kind of internet bubble popped-ish, right around there then.
Yeah. So yeah, really early 2000s. So
and it was still really busy in Maui?
Yeah. Yeah. So what created Maui and created everywhere else was the September 11, right? Oh. So that made things, So that made things go south. But other than that, Maui was pumping the whole time. But MCC, Maui Community College at the time, they didn't have a computer science program. So I was taking all these gen ed stuff, and then my 1 semester turned out to be a lot longer. Like, dude, I've been in school for so long. I want to get the heck out of here. And I don't care what job I get, as long as it pays decent. And Maui Community College was a nursing farm, so like I'm gonna go nursing that pays decent. There's always demand for nurses and whatnot. So
is that what it's still now? It's still nursing? Because I know Hilo has nursing.
I mean, everybody has nursing, right? The demand is there. So I went through that program, and then toward the end of the nursing program.
Wait, so you went to nursing?
Yeah, I was a nurse. I was a nursing student.
Nurse is a good career, man.
Right.
I tell my daughter, she's discussing that. Yeah.
So did that. I was working at the family restaurant, going to school. I got a job working graveyard shift on the weekends at a senior care home and whatnot, and it was great. And then finally we sold off one of our restaurants. Like, all right, we don't need you anymore. You can go back to Oahu. Oh. So I was like, whoa, okay. So I was looking around, and HPU had a nurse practitioner, an accelerated nurse practitioner program. It's like, this is great. I applied for it, got accepted, moved over. I'm going to go to this. And then they didn't go through with the program. Right. So like, well, what do we do now? And, I thought.
So you already graduated with the nursing degree?
I got the licensure, didn't graduate yet.
Oh, so you would have been an RN?
RN, LPN. So I forget which one it was. Wow. It was one of those 2.
Think about going back and finishing it?
Nope.
Oh.
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. So I was going to go nurse practitioner because that's basically a doctor, right? Yeah. And, so they didn't go through with the program. It's like, well, I've already moved over, and what am I going to do? And I had so many credits. It's like, all right, kind of sitting down and having that moment of, what do I want to do with my life? And said, I want to go business and finance because, and this was already like 2003, 2004-ish.
That's a lot more courses then, because if you're doing nursing, that's all like health sciences and so on.
Oh, yeah,
right? You're not doing accounting and whatever else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still remember vividly, I had this one biology professor, and she hated my guts. I was 20 something, like, maybe not the best academic student, well, not the best university student in terms of, I'd go to class and she had the giant lecture or whatever, and I'd be sitting all the way in the back. And sometimes I'd roll in late because my Starbucks, I had to pick that up. I had my newspaper. So I'm cruising the back, reading a newspaper, drinking my Starbucks while she's lecturing in the front or whatever. And she got mad one day, and, she kind of addressed everybody like, for those of you that are going to nursing school, I have a lot of say as to who gets accepted, who doesn't. You got to take this seriously. And if you're just going to come in and cruise and do whatever, and just kind of, targeting me with this line of thought and whatnot. And it's like, all I thought in my head was like, leave me alone. I'm getting an A. I'm the top performer in your class. I'm doing something right here. Like, go focus on the folks that are not doing well here.
So that's when you said, I'm just going to do something else.
Well, no, something else just came when I, wasn't able to go to the nurse practitioner program. I said, let's go business, because I like finance. I like business. And this was, again, 2003, 2004. And
it's kind of similar comp, actually.
Yeah. But, in those like 6-7 year period, we had the Asian financial crisis of like 98, 99, the dot-com bust and boom around 2001 and whatnot.
It was a slow recovery after that, like 2009, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of felt long.
Yeah. Well, 2001, that dot-com boom-ish. But the
Well,
recovery,
the financial one, the
financial
the
one's
Lehman
long.
brother, all that stuff was like
Yeah.
09-ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, before the Lehman, the real estate boom was great. And, I was on Maui living at home with the family, working in the restaurant. So I had no mortgage expense, rent expense. I had no food expense or whatever. Just working every day.
So you pretty much eat the leftovers from the restaurant or what?
Eat the food at the restaurant. Our main restaurant was on in Lahaina by Front Street. So a lot of my friends were all the restaurant people across Front Street. So they all had their monthly food credits from their place. I'm like, Johnny, I'm sick of eating spaghetti, blah, blah, blah. Like, you want to do a food trade? Yeah, so we'll do food trade. Like, this is great. And their food credit was use it or lose it, right? Like, I still have $400 left on my food credit. Like, what do you want? You want prime rib? You want ribeye? Like, whatever. Like, yes, send me that over and just send them over a pad thai or a curry. And that's what they wanted.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, so zero expenses there.
So you can cook.
I eventually learned to cook because there were moments where, things like
You got to just fill in, right?
you got to fill in because the cook, my uncle or whatever, he was on a car coming over and there's a crash on the Poly Highway and he can't make it. And it's like, all right, I got to learn how to cook some of this stuff, and nowhere near as good or as quick, but it'll
Better than nothing.
well, it'll tide us over until he arrives an hour later, right? So yeah, save a bunch of money. The real estate boom was starting, and not really knowing about the real estate boom was just everybody's talking about buying.
Oh, so you were going to go into real estate finance.
Well, I basically just started buying houses because everybody around me in Maui was buying houses.
You had money?
Well,
to do that,
10% down payment, right? 20% down payment at the time. This was back in 2004, 2003.
Oh,
where,
so when you can just do all the arms and everything.
well, not even arms. I invested in real estate because this is going to be my retirement nest egg cash flow, right? So a condo is going for, $150K. Like, that's what, 15K at 10% or 30K at, and again, I had no expenses. So all my income from working in a family business and the nursing stuff on the weekends or whatever.
So you're going to UH Manoa and then buying real estate?
I was still at Maui. I was still at Maui Community College at the time.
Oh, okay.
And I was just, I bought a condo, and, a few months later, my agent says, hey, Johnny, the condo I bought, which, the long-term renter basically paid for my mortgage, or, like $50 a month out of pocket for me. But for me, it was like,
nothing.
Hey, 30 years from now, like, if I pay $50 a month now, like, this thing's free, basically. And that was my thinking as a young 20-something-year-old that never done this before. I can pay $50 a month to acquire $150,000 property. That math works for me. Yeah, a few months later, she calls up and says, the place that you just bought, like, somebody's offering, 30, 40, 50% more. Do you want to sell it? I was like, yeah, sell it.
Yeah.
So sold it, like, use that to go find another one to buy. Again, with the same.
So you just go 1031 exchange?
I didn't even do 1031. I didn't even know 1031s existed. My agent didn't tell me about this stuff, right? So again, I was young, dumb, 21-year-old that never done this before. I just was buying property.
Just kind of flipping them.
Inadvertently, yeah, because I bought it as a long-term investment, and my agent keep coming back with me and saying, hey, like, somebody's offering you 60% more, somebody's offering 80% more, somebody's offering you double. And it's like, wow, this is like really interesting. And so yeah, I bought and flipped a bunch of those. I still have like a couple on Maui over there. And yeah, I mean, got them before, right, the run up and the bubble.
The multiple bubbles.
Yeah. My father, I mean, he passed away a long time ago, and I so vividly recall having a chat with him in the family restaurant. Hey, Dad, this new plot subdivision in Laniopoko is like opening up for sale. Just a plot of land is $300,000. It's $300,000 for an acre and a half in Laniopoko. Like, it's like, that's too expensive, $300,000, blah, blah, blah. And like a year later, that thing was over $1 million just for the land. It's like, oh my God. It's like, and I still recall my dad's like, Johnny, sorry, I talked you out of that one. That was a good one. But yeah, so that basically funded my work at Akamai for a long time.
Oh, because you were just volunteering.
We wrote for grants.
So you went straight out of school to Akamai or what?
I was a college senior in Akamai. I finally opened up an email that came through the career services that they send every, their newsletter every week. I finally opened one after years at UH. And there was this little blurb about Asia-focused financial analyst training program. And we go back to, in that time, there were a lot of hedge funds. So hedge funds were the big thing in the news, kind of like today everybody talks about venture capital. During that time, it was hedge funds. And we had a little more than a dozen hedge funds based out of Hawaii that were managing like billions of dollars, because everybody was talking about Asia and, the US and all that stuff. So I was like, come on, this sounds interesting. I called the number up. Luis Perez answered the phone. He said, yeah, our first class is tomorrow. Come on by. So, I went on a Saturday morning, sat in on a session like, oh my God, this is amazing.
How many people were there?
20 to 30 people.
Oh, that's a pretty good amount.
Yeah. I mean, in the early days in like 2004-ish, it was just like everybody comes in. There was no application. There was no formal curriculum training process. It was a lot of materials that were just shared amongst the group. There was like a lot of grad students, primarily grad students, handful of undergrads, trying to figure out like, how do we get a job in this area? And then, I stuck with it. Eventually, I applied to hundreds of places trying to get a job. And, I think one or two people actually called me back.
You mean locally or just in the mainland?
On the continent, yeah. Mm-hmm. So 2 people called me back. And the only reason they called me back, and they said, like, Johnny, I'm calling you as a courtesy because nobody's going to waste time calling you. You're from Hawaii. We don't hire students from Hawaii because we have, your tier 1 schools and all that whatever stuff. You don't have any internships. Like, I didn't know I needed internships because I never got that memo. I didn't apply like a year prior. It's like, we hire 99% of people we hire are out of our internship class. So if you didn't get in there, we're not really looking at you. And we have thousands of other students that are from these whatever top tier schools that we regularly recruit from. So the only reason he called me was because he saw that I was from Hawaii, and he was from Hawaii as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's
wow.
I'm doing a service.
What high school
to
did the guy go to?
Iolani.
Okay.
But that was really the only reason. So for
That's nice of him.
Very nice, right? But for me, finally found out what my calling in life was, my passion. I really wanted to do this, and then being told like, well, you can't do it because you didn't apply a year before, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. If I had known all of this ahead of time, I would have prepped for it. Even if, as a student right there, like, because of the procedural process of recruiting and hiring, I could be the best employee for them, but they're not even willing to take a look. So that was heartbreaking. And that's really why I said, I'm going to help this Akamai program so that anybody that comes after me that, thinks they want to do this or wants to try it, I'm going to help them. And I'm going to help them get to there because they shouldn't have to go through the same heartache that I went through.
So did you ever go and work in Wall Street?
Nope.
Oh, so you've been teaching it the whole time?
I've been teaching it the whole time, writing grants. So I helped write a couple grants, to formally get the curriculum built. So we got a Department of Education grant for a couple million to build the program. We hired professionals from all over the world. We built a program with the Makahana Ka'ike, right? The learn by doing thesis of you're going to go to college and learn how to calculate all of these financial formulas or whatever. Anyway, we're more focused on if you were an entry-level person hired on the job, what do you do with that? Right? So, here's a Bloomberg terminal. They've got a button for calculating this. Press that button, and now your job is to apply it. Right? So that's what we were concerned with. So that's a program that we built, beta testing it every 6 months with different cohorts that came in the fall and the spring. Yeah, and just been there ever since.
So 20-something years?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what's the future of this program?
Ideally, we'd get someone else to take over the reins eventually. I'll be involved with them until I die. This is my passion project, right? Hopefully somebody who comes home from banking is like, hey, Johnny, like you can sunset out now and I'll take over the reins for the next 30, 50 years or whatever. So that'd be great. But as of right now, the program is free for all students that want to come in and just learn how to do the work. So how to build financial models, how to use Excel without a mouse and a trackpad, because that's what Wall Street demands, financial statement analysis, research, all that, whatever stuff. They're building research reports, pitch book, their presentations, public speaking, right? All the stuff that the collateral skills that go along with it. That's all free and will always be free. Lewis, again, being from Waianae, said, John, if you told me it would cost $1 to be a part of his program, I wouldn't have done it because, like, from my background, like, I don't have $1 to spare, right? So in keeping in line with that part will always be free. And we've been tinkering with a bunch of different ways to bring in revenue to support the organization. And we've kind of settled upon this revenue share, income share agreement type thing. So more on the career development placement side of the house, so like a placement firm for students that want our help to build their resume, prepare for interviews, network with people on Wall Street and in the business. That part is basically, if you sign up for that part of the house and we get you a job that pays, above a certain threshold, pay us GET tax, like 5% a year for 10 years or 100K, whatever comes first. If you don't get a job that pays 100K, we failed. You don't pay us anything, right? If you get a job that pays you $1 million year one and, $1 million year two, whatever, like you never pay us more than 100K. Right?
So what happens if they don't make it through the program then?
They don't make it through?
Yeah. They still got to pay something?
No.
Oh.
No, that's it. I mean, they can walk away at any time if they don't get a job there. And we've had some students come and say, well, I'm trying to be a professional athlete. I'm going to go soccer and do this or whatever. Do I have to pay you if I become a multimillionaire soccer player? It's like, no, we didn't help you prepare for that career. Like, we don't take any of that. They're going to be the next social media star or whatever. Like, we don't take any of that. We might ask for some if they become a social media star because they're like running in the Excel speed championship or whatever, which we help them prepare for. But if they're just, a movie critic or...
What would happen if they did it for like 1 year and they're like, and they quit, but then like years later, then they got a job doing that? How does that work?
That kind of depends on their journey, right? So if they went to Goldman Sachs for 1 year, came home at the local bank and went back to Goldman Sachs, then we'd argue like, hey, you're still able to get to Goldman because you were originally from Goldman. If they never got to Goldman, they went, some other route, and then they eventually got to Goldman, and think, I don't need it. But really, right now, we've had students go through and sign the agreement and whatnot, and they've earned those income thresholds where they should be paying back. We've never asked for it. At the end of the day, it's more gauging their level of commitment.
Do they pay then? I mean, have you seen them paying?
No, nobody's paid yet.
Oh.
Yeah, we've never asked for it. Right? Because again, it's more about gauging their level of commitment because we're not associated with the university. We don't show up on their resume. We don't show up on their grades. They've got part-time jobs. They got social life, family life, whatever. And so whenever they face headwinds, the easiest and first thing that they're going to abandon is us. Right? Because, I need to keep my part-time job because I need to have money to pay for whatever. I need to do well in school because that affects my grades. So we're always the first one that they abandon. But with this document, I mean, there's more skin in the game. And it also helps us to evaluate like their line of thought coming in. Because essentially what we're saying is like, we're giving you a lottery ticket. And what would you be willing to pay for this $1 million lottery ticket? For some students, like, I'm not paying $1 for this $1 million lottery ticket. That's kind of weird. Like, I'm offering you $1 million and you don't want to give a dollar for that. You just want the $1 million. So you're not the right candidate for us. We're about paying it forward and giving back. The students that come through the program as they matriculate up, they have to teach the incoming students, right? If you're already not about giving back to this organization and to the, what helped you attain the skills and experience that you have, this isn't the right place where you can go and learn. You can go on YouTube and pick up how to build a financial model and to do this all whatever stuff. You can pay Wall Street Prep or Trading the Street for those basically the same thing. So yeah, our motivations and goals are not aligned and you're better off going somewhere else.
So in that time period, what did you do to earn money?
I didn't.
Oh.
I basically, for roughly a dozen plus years, I had zero income coming in. I was living off the real estate profits from flipping.
That's actually pretty good.
We were grant funded for like 5 years, but that's 5 out of the 20, right?
That's kind of a nice model though, because you basically entrepreneurially created yourself a passive income, and then you can go do the stuff that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah. I'll meet with some entrepreneurs, and sometimes, a lot of times the student entrepreneurs at the university, like, I love what you're doing. This is great. If Jeff Bezos came to you today and offered you $1 billion to take your company global, would you do it? More times than not, these student entrepreneurs are saying no. That baffles me. Like, and why? Why don't you take the $1 billion? Well, I'm doing this, to support my community, to support my neighbors. I want to keep it small, and which is totally fine. And then the follow-up question is, well, Bezos says, I understand that, and what if I give you $1 billion every year, and I'm going to run your company outside of Hawaii, and you can focus on servicing your community and your neighbors and whatever? And they still decline. Like, no, I don't want to do that.
That's weird. You could do a lot with $1 billion in your community.
That's where
you
I'm
can do
at.
a lot with $1 million in your community.
Exactly. So that's where
$100,000 can do a lot. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Right. So having that understanding of you're not selling out, and if your mission is to help your community and whatever, you can bring in this capital to do like a lot more impact, right, in your community versus making Hawaiian branded lanyards. And I don't know how much that's going to help the community, but for them, it's like, hey, we created a couple jobs. That disconnect is always confusing for me.
So you're still doing a lot of real estate?
No, I mean, I like multifamilies. My house I live in, I rent off portions of it to help pay the bills and whatnot. And always on the hunt for something else out there, but it's difficult. Like I've always looked at, if I'm doing it just for returns, there's better real estate options that are out there that are not in Hawaii. I mean, your money goes a lot farther elsewhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for the same dollar, right? I mean, you can stretch it out farther. You can syndicate stuff. You can do whatever. But I just don't have the time for it anymore. So
yeah, I think that's the thing too. I know that when I talked to a few friends that were looking at commercial real estate or things over here, and they're like, you know what, man, my money goes so much farther elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert in it, but that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Maui, your whole family has multiple generations in Maui, or what?
Nope. So my sisters are still there. We finally sold off the last restaurant right before the pandemic.
So it's your sisters only, or your
sisters
brother?
only, older and a younger sister.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're in the middle.
Yeah, the middle one. Yeah.
And then how much older, how much younger?
4 years older and 2 years younger.
Oh, okay. And then so they're over there, and they were in the business.
Yeah, so everybody's in business, and my older sister went off to the East Coast for school to Boston University, and my little sister went off to University of San Diego. But eventually, they all came home because the family business was great. I mean, it's just a income-producing machine because it's all slave labor with family. But we had a good thing going, but we just got to the point where like everybody's tired. My father had passed away 10 years ago or so, and we were just trying to get out for the longest time, and finally a buyer came out of nowhere.
So tell me the story on that.
We've always been for sale, especially after my father passed away. My mother's like, hey, I just want to retire.
How many years was it running before your father passed away?
30.
Oh, long time.
Roughly 30 years.
Oh, long time. It's like the local staple.
Yeah. I definitely was. And we're proud that we were the local option amongst all the tourist traps that are out there. And the majority of our customers were locals. And we cared more about the repeat customers than...
Was it kind of higher end? Or
No. We were hole in the wall. Like tiny, we had maybe 11 tables, maybe close to 30 people that could fit in there at any given time. And it was a BYOB. It was literally a hole in the wall.
Like a small Kales, kind of?
Yeah.
Kind of like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Neighborhood hangout spot.
Yeah, the neighborhood hangout spot in the touristy area.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great. I mean, it's kind of like, when you think about Side Street Inn.
Where
right?
is it? Where was it on Front Street?
It was off of Front Street in the old Lahaina Center where Kentucky Fried Chicken was. Longies was on the other corner. Foodland, Bank of Hawaii.
So if you're coming from the
Kaanapali?
Kaanapali side,
Yep.
and you come in that way, and it kind of loop, then you're right over there on the left.
Coming from Kaanapali, we're behind Front Street. So Longies was right on Front Street.
Yeah, it was right in the beginning part, right?
Yeah.
And then,
so
you go
coming
back
from
a little
there,
bit.
yeah, we're the next left.
Oh,
Yeah.
that must have been so expensive. Did you guys own the land?
We did not own the land.
Oh,
yeah.
that must have been expensive.
It was up there, but I mean, because we were behind Front Street, it was a little less. And again, it was small. It was like 700 square feet. It was tiny.
Who's the landowner for that? Is it
I don't know. Actually, Weinberg Foundation.
Oh, it's Weinberg.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So the restaurant was going for a long time, and then your dad passed away, and it's like, okay, we got to sell at some point. Mm-hmm. You hired a broker or something, or no? It was just
word of
put
mouth.
it out there.
Yeah, just word of mouth. I mean, we bought that place word of mouth, and it's funny because I just had this discussion with Jennifer Liu from UH Foundation. She was asking me about my backstory and whatnot, and my parents immigrated over from Laos after the Vietnam War. They came, with all those people from Laos.
Oh.
Didn't speak any English. She actually spoke French.
So you're first generation. So you speak?
I speak Lao.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Kind of losing it because I don't speak to any other Lao people.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, so, grew up in Camp 4 housing in Kalihi. We moved around a lot. My father, he got a job working maintenance for the state, the Hawaii Housing Authority at the time. He was a janitor at the hospitals after that. So I never saw him really growing up. On the weekends, he'd be like a maintenance man gardener for, the wealthy folks.
Wait, Camp 4 housing here on Oahu?
Yeah.
And then, so when did you guys move to Maui?
5th grade, somewhere around there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had saved up enough money from doing all of these, extra side jobs and whatnot. And originally we were going to buy the Oahu meat market out in Chinatown here. That meat market on the corner.
Yep.
We're going to do that. And
He saved up a lot of money then, or what?
well, yeah, I mean, he was always working, and yeah, he saved up money. I mean, he'd do stuff like on the weekends, the gardening maintenance stuff. He'd be going out with the other Laotians to gill net for tilapia, to sell tilapia to the other Laotians and all that stuff. So, doing all this stuff to hustle, right?
It's like my grandfather.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they saved enough to buy a business. We were going to buy the Oahu meat market. We had agreements, everything like that. And we were going in with our cousins. And the morning of signing, we were waiting to drive over with our cousins. And we find out later that they went behind our back to buy the place.
The cousins?
Yeah, our cousins, like our blood relatives. They did this. Like, oh my God. Karma caught up with them. Eventually, the husband and wife went to federal prison for many years for welfare fraud. They were doing the whole changing food stamps to dollars, whatever thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, karma caught up with them.
So you guys found out before you went down, or you went down there and they're like, oh no, the deal's already done?
Yeah. So we went down there and the deal was already done. So they cut us out of that deal.
You were there?
I wasn't there, no. But so yeah, that happened. And then
That must have been nuts. How was it in your household
Uh,
on that day?
I mean, parents were upset, but, still cordial with them and whatnot. The family, right? And then so somebody on Maui heard that we were looking to buy a business, and this family out in Wailuku said, I'm selling my Thai restaurant. Like, so
And they were Thai?
Thai Lotion.
Thai Lo.
Yeah. So we flew over to Maui, had a little family vacation or whatever, went to check out the restaurant. We agreed to terms or whatever. And it's like, all right, come by the next day with the money. So we went next day with the money. And they got cold feet and said, we don't really want to sell. So yeah, we were on Maui with a bunch of money to spend to buy a business, and nothing happened out of it. And then another restaurateur out in Lahaina said, hey, I heard that deal fell through. You got that money. Come over. You can take my place right now. So
Another Laotian guy.
another Thai Lao person, yeah.
Wow.
So we drove over to Lahaina from Wailuku. We walked to the restaurant, had a conversation with the woman, handed over the money, and then we were restaurateurs as of that afternoon. So yeah, no experience whatsoever, restaurant and all that stuff. My father, like one of his first entrepreneurial
How
endeavors,
does he even learn then?
I learned on the fly.
And so the cooks, stayed and everything, or what?
The agreement was they would stay with us for like the first 6 months or 1 year and see how it goes. And we can talk to them if they want to stay on afterward. And they wound up staying, the head chef wound up staying with us for a long time. An uncle that we brought over from Laos to help us with the business actually wound up marrying his niece.
Oh.
And then they went off years later and started up their own restaurants and whatnot. So that happened. But even before the restaurants, my dad's entrepreneurial endeavors were like, what do Asian people like eating in Hawaii that we can't get so much? I was like, oh, balut. Like, I like balut. All my friends like it. So he ordered this giant egg incubation machine or whatever, plugged it in, and it shocked everybody because he forgot the voltage difference.
Oh.
So it's like, oh, man, we can't use this thing. Like, so money like down the drain for that. And then
You couldn't just convert it somehow?
I don't know if you can figure it out.
Yeah.
So after that, it's like, so what else do people like? Oh, people love eating pho. And what goes in pho? Meatballs. And we have to import all these meatballs from wherever. There's no local meatball maker. So he bought these giant machines, built a shed in the back of the house, and been, it's like the better part of a year, a little more than a year of testing for the right texture, consistency.
Yeah, because you got to put like tendon and stuff like that, yeah?
Yeah. So like to this day, I have a hard time eating meatballs.
Oh, really?
Because our freezer was just nothing. I ate nothing but meatballs for like a year.
The tendon kind, you mean kind of the sponge?
Like everything, like beef meatballs, like fish meatballs, whatever. And it's just like I have the hardest time now. Like I love eating pho, but I can't do it with the meatballs.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So he only did that for like a year?
Yeah, and he just abandoned shit. I was like, I can't figure it out.
So he's trying all kinds.
He was trying all kinds because he understood like, in order to get ahead, like you got to be your own boss and whatnot, and like trying to work 2-3 jobs to just pay the bills wasn't doing it. So yeah, and that's
What was your mom doing for work?
she was a housekeeper at the Hilton.
Oh, so she got good healthcare. It's good medical, right?
It was a good job. I mean, it was just like everybody has now.
So you're first generation kind of hustling, getting out there.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Because that's all you know.
Yeah. I mean, just growing up in Camp 4 housing, I vividly remember, and this has kind of been what's kind of propelled me to, I guess, why I work hard is just, I remember my grandmother throwing me into dumpsters to go collect cans. Right? As a kid, like that was not good.
Like throw you in, or like
Well,
just help you get in?
I had to jump into these,
Uh-huh.
the giant dumpsters. We'd be walking around like picking cans everywhere we go, like because she couldn't get in, right? But I could, so I'd jump into these things and just getting cans. Like I didn't know anything. She's like, oh, I got to get cans to collect and go trade for 5 cents, whatever the redemption rate was at the time. It's
So
like
you guys were on like food stamps and stuff?
for a while we were on food stamps, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, so that was like, I don't really care what I do, but I will never be that poor
yeah, you
ever
know
again in
how
my
it
life.
is.
Yeah.
So I would say on that too, like that could be a strong ass motivator too, right? Which is I'm never
Yeah.
gonna be like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of students that I teach and mentor, again, it comes with that power that comes with that freedom, right? To do what you want to do versus do what you got to do. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and not having to worry about paying the bills, right? It's like, oh, I take this job that pays minimum wage or this under market or whatever rate, and like I have to do it because that's the only thing I'm currently prepared and eligible for. But if they go this finance route that I'm trying to get them into, they're basically set for life.
So if you had to take like one kind of pivotal experience in your childhood that would explain and give really good context to who you are today, what would it be?
I remember, I think it was like 6th grade. I was on a field trip, and one of the teachers that I really respected a lot, we were on the bus and whatnot, and I was a heavy stumbler. Speaking was, difficult.
A second language, John.
Yeah, that definitely was part of it, but, not a great speaker. And he looked me in the eye one day and said, Johnny, if you act like a dog, you speak like a dog, everybody's going to treat you like a dog. So you need to fix this, right? And I really took that to heart. It's like, I don't want people treating me bad, like just because I don't speak well or whatever. So I got to fix this. And it kind of translated, morphed into different things.
So was he like, I'm going to help fix this? Or it's just like, you got a problem, figure it out?
It was, you got a problem, figure it out.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he kind of helped me fix it in terms of like the old school way of fixing things. Of every time I would stumble, he would make fun of me or he would call it out. Yeah, that sort of stuff. So when I was stumbling, sometimes I don't recognize that I was stumbling and talking. So he, like, hey, stop that, right? Like teaching a dog, right? So no one outside of family had given that sort of coaching or advice or whatever.
That was Maui? Because 6th grade, that's Maui?
That was Maui, yeah.
Yeah. So what did you do then? You started to practice something, or you went to a class or something?
No,
just became aware.
Just being quiet, right? So I just became more quiet, and like I kind of pulled back from situations. Like I don't want to say anything because if I open my mouth, I'm going to say something wrong, or I'm going to be like all the eyes looking at me. Probably a little bit of why I have like social anxiety now. I don't do well in large crowds and whatnot. I love the one-on-one, but in any large, you've seen me at large venues. So
you feel like maybe at that moment, that would be a shame piece, right? Like that one, like right there. So would you say that the pivotal piece is that at that point you said you kind of made a conscious decision, I'm not going to say anything? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. The shame piece, like, Lao families, they have this saying of anytime you do something bad, right? When I get scolded by my parents, it was always like, you're bringing shame upon yourself and your town and your community.
Your ancestry.
Right. So it's not
the
like
whole world.
You're not making me ashamed. You're shaming the place you came from, right?
So as a parent now, what's your view on that kind of technique or strategy?
I'm not so much into the shaming part, or not, I guess, directly. The mental trauma lasts a lot longer than physical trauma. So
can last generations.
Yeah.
That can go generations.
Yeah. I guess what raised me as a person was TV, because everybody was working. I never saw them. Like what raised me was watching TV and TV families. Oh, that's how a American nuclear family is supposed to act and behave and nurture one another. So I mean, I try to do some of that stuff, like the really old school. I try to give the kids a lot of leeway, like the guardrails of don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
You should know that going beyond this is bad. But within that, you're free to do whatever. So take care of your responsibilities first, and if that's all taken care of, you do whatever you want to do. And that's kind of, I guess, how my parents raised me, because they weren't overbearing, and us kids, we were employees. You go to school, you show up for work when you still show up for work. Outside of that, I don't really care what you do. At the time, we wound up moving to Kihei. One of the restaurants was in Lahaina, and I went to Lahaina Luna. So after school, I'd work in the Lahaina restaurant, and we'd drive home after that. But sometimes I'll go hang out with my friends after work at 10, 11 p.m. and we'd be hanging out at Denny's or just cruising or whatever, because that was the only time I got to socially interact with my friends. And then I'd show up back at home at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock or whatever. Mom was like, hey, I don't like you coming home that late. It's dangerous. You can be sleepy, whatever. But didn't really press on it because, it didn't really press me for grades or anything like that. I just knew, like, go to school. You know what you're supposed to do at school. So go take care of that. Showed up for work. Like, everybody was fine. So I guess I'm that way with my kids as well. It's just when they start getting toward that boundary and they start going across it, I'm very strict because the kids, right? They're always pushing and testing those boundaries. And I feel if you relax and let them kind of push and keep going beyond it, they're going to extend those boundaries and then consistency, right? So
it's such a hard thing though, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing trying to manage it all and balance everything and then try to be like a good parent and so on. Because my oldest really well. And I remember because I was watching him yell at my youngest. And I was like, oh. And this was years ago. I kind of laughed and I went, whoa, you sound just like your grandfather. My dad, right? Trying to blame him. And my son, who's one year, he goes, no, he doesn't. I go, oh, yeah? He goes, he sounds like you.
Yeah.
And I went, holy crap, that is exactly what he sounds like. And I noticed that kind of stuff. It's like, rah! It's like, initially I go, what the heck? Oh, that sounds just like me. Yeah. And that's how the thing gets kind of passed down, and it becomes, ooh, I think twice about this one now.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that as well because my father was that way, and the quick snap and just being short sometimes with my kids, and every once in a while they'll call me out on it. It's like, hey, I get where you're going, but there's a better way of saying that, and I definitely need to pull it back sometimes. And I see it with my older one sometimes where she'll be talking with the little one and she'll be doing the same thing. Hey, you called me out on that and you're doing the same thing, and that does happen.
Yeah, my oldest had it hard. Before I did all my self-work and so on, he had it hard. I mean, because I think about it, and my parents were the type that were, I think I know that they love us, right? But my dad very explicitly would say, hey, we're not like going to be like these other families. I'm not going to ever tell you like I love you. We're not going to I'm not going to be emotional and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But when you need us, we'll be there. Yeah. That was kind of his thing. And it was right. It was there. But, I'm a human being, right? So, I need my parents' love. And the interesting thing is that he was busy, running his law firm, doing things and so on. I never understood this until recently. I would always get into trouble. And then he would always say, you're always in a conflict. You're always in a conflict, all that. And then I thought about it recently. I said, you know what? When there was a conflict, like I always had a problem at school or had something else going on, or I'm mad at somebody, and we have this whole thing going on, that's when my dad paid attention. He was like right there in the mix, like, he was into it. It was a thing. And so I think basically it was like conflict like that was connection and love in my family. And now that my father passed, I find I'm not in that kind of conflict a lot. I still don't mind conflict, but I think I used to just create it as a connection thing. So interesting.
Create that conflict to get attention.
Just create it. Because then it becomes connecting. Yeah. And that kind of stuff is okay, but like, I love you, anything that's kind of tender or sadness, no go, right? That one has been pretty tough, right? And I know also like the anxiety, and this was an interesting one to me. I would feel social anxiety, but I'm actually, if I had to grade myself, I'm excellent in a social environment.
Oh, I see you all the time. You're
freaking
awesome.
math. I'm very skilled in that area, but I would always like, if I had an event, I'd be completely like 9 out of 10 worried that like people are not going to show up or so on and all that. And then what I realized too recently is that it's actually could be excitement. I could be excited for this, but excitement's not okay, right? Because as a young boy, when I'm, hyper or excited or asking a bunch of questions and so that, it's like, calm down, can't you control yourself? It's considered bad, and you have shame around that, and it's not okay. Then now it becomes anxiousness, and then I just project it onto my kids. It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I think it's harder too, because if you have just full immigrant parents that are, financially strapped, they're having to just work. That reminds me of my mom's dad. Like he would just work, do his pharmacist stuff, grow his own plants to go make creams, go make scarves and go sell them to the soldiers. Make his own soda and sell that. It's like any kind. Go grow some stuff in the yard, box them up, give some to family, and then sell other stuff too. And I always would think, oh man, this guy, it's just grouchy all the time and just only just works and so on. But you know what? It really just, that is the reason that, maintain some privilege and so on too. So it's like, so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. As parents, we're always trying to provide our kids with more than we had and better than we had. Looking back, I feel bad for my oldest, because when she was born, and even till now, because I was working so much, and I kind of did what my parents did, where like I'm working so much, I was absent, wasn't always present. Tried to be present, but when she was born and growing up, my wife decided to be a stay-at-home mom for the first 5 years or whatever, because Japanese, she wanted to be home with her little princess, which is totally fine. And then I guess I took advantage of that. My wife has the house and the kid taken care of, so I went out to do just as much work as possible. And that was also coincided with when I was helping to build Akamai, and once I was spending all this time at Akamai building, helping other students, helping other kids, whatever, and doing 100-hour weeks with this nonprofit, trying to help other people. And that realization never hit home to me until roughly when the second daughter was on the way. And this is kind of where I met you as well. I came home from work one day, and we just had this great crop of students, like 8 or 9 of them got their offers to investment banking, right? It's like, came home all happy. Hey, babe, I just minted like 8 millionaires, 9 millionaires today. Like these UH students got all their offers. They're off to the races, great career and jobs. And then she turns to me like, full belly pregnant, and the other kid over there, like, that's a cool story. But how are we doing with our kids? What is our oldest going to do for college? Like, what are we doing with this one as she comes on board and whatnot? And, like holy crap. Like, I haven't had a salary in forever. I've been drawing down on my savings. And college is coming up in like 6 years. Like, I don't have anything saved up for this kid. What am I going to do? I'm helping all these other people's kids, or they're my Hanai kids at this point because I spend so much time with them, but I'm helping all of these other kids achieve success. Like, I'm not doing the same thing at home for my own family. Like, before I need to go take care of other people, I got to take care of my own family. And that's where we met, and I was looking for a job that pays me money, and then you were wonderful in helping me get that job at HEI, and that paid the bills for those few years that I was there. Fortunately, not long after, I got the call from Builders, and they allowed me to kind of take on this role now.
I didn't actually know any of that. I just figured you was working somewhere or doing something or so on. It's interesting how all of that works out, yeah?
20 years later, I finally get my dream job that I wanted when I entered.
You've been such an integral and important part of my family, because my oldest son, you're like you might be his main mentor. There's only so much I can tell him, right? And that's kind of minimal, because who the hell wants to listen to their parent?
100%. My kids do.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, actually, wow. I didn't realize that was that big of an impact. That's meaningful to me. Thanks. Interesting. So your youngest is how old now then?
8.
Oh, 8.
Depending on the students in the Akamai program, they've either had my oldest crawling around in the office with them, or they've had the youngest crawling around the office with them.
So where do you see yourself as a parent where you've seen the most personal growth, or the hardest thing to have to like face about yourself, but it was mirrored in like you would see it in your kid?
One of the hardest things is just being present with the kids. I bring work home, like, work and home are the same thing. That's the hard part, where I'm always on, because, whatever goes on, whether it's Akamai and the students or whatnot, like they all have my number. They call me up, like they got stuff going on. Over at Builder side, there's always something going on there. And then the myriad of nonprofits that I support as well. There's always something going on where I'm being pulled in all these different directions and just trying to be present for the family. I try, especially with the second kid, to be more present for her. It was definitely something that I, went in saying, I'm going to be more present for her. Like I wasn't with the first one. I wasn't able to with the first one.
Does that cause resentment on the older one? Like,
no.
Oh, Dad, because mine are always like, you're not being disciplining enough to my youngest. It's like, I don't care.
No, with the older one, I mean, it's a weird dynamic with girls, right? I tease her all the time. Like, what happened to my baby? Like, I remember when you were 13 years old, I put you to bed. You gave me a hug and a kiss, said, you love me and all that stuff. You woke up the next day and it just, it was like overnight. I'll drop her off in the morning at school and it's quiet rides. Mm-hmm. She'll be very communicative with my wife, which is great. And for everybody, I thought they're girls, they go through the phase. Just be patient. They come back after a while. That's the path I'm taking with that one. She knows I'm always here. I'm always supporting. We're doing the whole college, applications and all that stuff that's going on right now. So we talk a little bit more about strategizing that.
I always say that my kids are very lucky to have my wife because she's always been like unconditionally love them no matter what. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm all judgy and everything, right? Like probably hard to be around me at many times. And I didn't understand it earlier because she would tell me, no, you're wrong and stuff. And like, you're just being weak or whatever. You know what I mean? Because I'm going on the premise of what I was taught when I was younger, which actually I'm realizing it's not super helpful. Mm. Yeah, they're lucky on that one.
Yeah,
I think.
Same. I mean, the dynamics of my household are, pretty much the same, right? Where I'm the stick and my wife is the carrot. And, the kids know, like, they figure out really quickly how to approach each parent for what they want and what they need. We complement each other. Sometimes, though, the hard part is when my wife and we don't communicate what's going on because she's got her side conversations with the certain kids or whatever, and it wasn't communicated to me. And then, like, wait, nobody told me about this. And then it becomes an issue or whatever. But at the end of the day, like with my older one, when she was becoming a teenager, I kind of had that chat with her of, you're going to do dumb shit. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to do whatever. Like, that's coming. That's a given. But she should feel comfortable in coming to talk to me about it. And I know, like, I'm the big scary wolf. Like, oh, Dad's going to get mad. And, like, he's going to do this. He's going to do that. We're like, well, if and when that happens, you need to come to me and, like, preface it with, Dad, you told me I got to get out a jail ticket. I'm coming to you. I've got a problem. This, whatever happened. Don't get mad. You told me if I tell you this, you're not going to get mad at me. We're going to sit and have a conversation. We're going to talk it out. So she's got that get out of jail free card, and she's used it once already.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. At least she comes.
Yeah.
If they feel like they can't come to you, then that's a issue.
Right. That's where it's like, like you said, right? We're always here. We're here for support and whatever, but we want them to be individuals to figure things out on their own. Mm-hmm. We're not always going to be there with them, but when we're not there with them, they need to be able to make that decision on their own of, is this good or is this bad? Is this like, should I do this? Should I not? And that's where I think for me, like, allowing them to have that space to figure things out on their own without being over their shoulder every time.
I try to do that, but I'm all up in my kids' business. I am right up and in there. But I told them too, it's like, especially on this college thing, like when they go to put on school, the culture is like, you're going to go to the mainland for college. And it's almost an undertone of, if you don't, you're kind of a loser, right? I mean, that's how it was when I went. There's so much talk about it and, this school and that school and all that. So my theory has always been, and I'm trying hard to stick to it more now because I get caught up in this whole college thingy where I know in my personal, it's like I was trying to train them their whole life so they don't need it. Mm-hmm. But I would tell them, I say, hey, you know what? You can go two routes here. One, if you're going to go the route and you're going to get all, A's, you're going to get these AP classes. You're going to do great on your SAT. You're going to do that whole thing. Okay, fine. Great. You want to go into the top tier schools? You get into a top tier school. So top tier school to me would be like any Ivy League, Stanford, right. That kind of thing, right? I said, you can do that? I said, we'll figure it out. Because this, they're $100,000 a year plus, right?
Yep.
I said, we'll figure it out. And my calculation in my mind was, figure it out meant that you're probably not getting in. So at the next 2 tiers, they're going to give you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? That's my whole thought process. And then I said, but if you're not going to do that, you don't want to do that. I said, don't waste your time. I said, you're going to Puno school. Like the biggest thing I think here is your network.
Yep.
Personally, I just feel it's like your network.
100%.
And so don't like waste time. Don't get a 3.2 or something like that. I said, get a 2.0. Right? So your face looks like everyone. They're like, what in the heck are you talking about? I go, get a 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you go lower, you get kicked out. So, that's fine too. We save a lot of money. But if you're not going to do that other route, like, don't get one 3.4 or something like that. Seriously, get 2.0. Take art classes, whatever it is that you feel like doing, the absolute minimum, and then make as many friends as you possibly can. I'm talking admin too, whoever's.
Yep.
Make as many friends as you possibly can. Because I know that at my age now, or even 10 years younger or 10 years younger before that, our classmates tend to run everything.
Yep.
So, you can make as many friends as you possibly can. That's kind of what I'm paying for. Because my thought on that was, if you do want to get serious later, then great. But you want to come out, you want to do a trade, you want to be a plumber, you want to do beauty, whatever, go do it. You know what I mean? Yep. Like my plumber is like almost $200 an hour. I mean, it's a great profession, right? But if you want to go now to those schools and you get serious, you can go to community college, you can go to UH or so on. Now you just got your grades all the way back up. It showed your progress went straight up. You write some narrative about how, now I'm serious about my life. And now you just transferred yourself into a school that is way farther above than anything you could ever get into, which are 3.4.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that was my thought. But almost all of them, well, so far the first 3 are like, Dad, don't stop telling us this. Don't tell us. It's so irritating. Don't tell us this. And then I get caught up in it, be like, oh, how's your SAT? How's this? I'm like, when in reality, I don't freaking care.
Yeah. At the core, like, you don't want them to half-ass stuff, right? If you're going to do something, make it meaningful and put your all into it.
Well, there's that gray area in the middle of like, okay, I'm kind of trying, but I'm not, or whatever. It's like, it's useless if you're trying to do the college thing to me. I mean, it's useless. Yeah. So it's funny because my younger son, I mean, I don't know, I won't tell his stats, but he had high stats. He had really high stats and this and that. So he's going to school and then he's bragging on his friends like, bro, you went to so-and-so, your grades this, that. And his friend looks at him straight in the eye and goes, we're going to the same college,
right.
He goes, and he's like, oh, screw you, man. He's like, he's like, you're right. Dang it, you're right, Yeah, bro, we're at the same school. So. Yeah. So what's something that you appreciate about your oldest daughter that she might not know you appreciate?
I appreciate that she's like a little mother, because the age gap between the 2 kids and, my wife and I being older with the second kid when she was born and whatnot, we definitely put a lot of responsibility on the older kid to take care of the younger one than she probably should have. Even till this day, like, she's still wonderful at taking care of the younger one. And that relationship they have is a lot stronger because she was forced to do a lot of that taking care. And a lot of times the things that my wife and I should be doing for the younger one, we offload onto the older one because we're busy doing other stuff. Like, and it's not fair to the older one. That's really something I should be doing. But because I've got, an event for a nonprofit tonight, I got a business meeting, I got whatever, I'm unable to be there for that. And then she becomes a de facto parent for us in those instances. So, yeah.
How about for your younger daughter?
She's a little fireball. Again, the dynamics of the home, because of the age differences of everybody there, the younger one, she picks up on the way, the adults in the room talk and whatnot. So she's talked like a little adult as well. And I think because she is more mature for her age at some times, and she talks like the adults in the room, I forget that she's an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old, 6-year-old, at the time and whatnot. So I'll speak to her like she's a lot older than she actually is. I mean, I appreciate her patience with me, where I will get upset with her and she will pull me to the side after. She'll withdraw herself because, oh, Daddy's mad at me. And she'll come back and she'll be like, again, because, her matureness, like that, can we talk about why you got mad at me? Or like, I'm sorry for making the mistake. How do I not make you mad next time? So I appreciate her maturity in these instances where rather than herself throwing a tantrum, as she's totally entitled to do so, she doesn't have these tantrums. She'll just quietly pull herself away from the situation, go evaluate what she did, what I did, and come back to me and trying to start a conversation with me of how she can do better next time so that I don't get mad at her again. So yeah, that's probably it right there.
So what is it that you could do on your own side that would make it so she doesn't have to worry about managing your anger?
So on my side, we go back to just being present. I think the reason why I'm short and get angry sometimes is because while I'm at home and with the kids and either helping with homework or making dinner or whatever, I'm thinking about work in my head. I'm physically in the room, but mentally I'm thinking about what emails to send out, the projects I got working on, whatever. And then these little, the distractions from the household break up my line of thought and where I'm at. So it's like, I'm not physically working on my computer at the moment, but my head is still thinking work. And then these are little things that come in to disrupt the workflow. And that's where I get short and where like, you're bothering me because I'm working. Whereas I'm not really working, where, I'm physically doing something else. So I need to do better at cutting that cord in my head of like, stop thinking about work. Right? My daughter's asking me for help with homework. Yeah. She's having trouble figuring out multiplication or division or whatever. And I need to be there to help and to teach her and to support her there versus, snapping at her because like, hey, why can't you do, your multiplication? You did it yesterday and you were fine and like, stop bothering me. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, just being able to shut work down when I need to shut work down and having that boundary.
How much of that you think is that you grew up in a household where parents always worked?
That's pretty much all of it. I mean, I think that's just how I'm hardwired, like from the moment I was a kid to now. Like it was always work. Like I don't have parents, I have bosses, right? I mean, I was a slave laborer in the family business and like just,
If you could only hold one memory with your dad, what would it be? And everything else you'd have to forget. You forgot.
That one's tough because we really didn't have a father-son relationship. When my father passed, I remember I was driving on a road in Kona. My high school buddy was having a 1-year birthday party for his first daughter. So I was driving on the road. I got the call and it finally passed.
He was sick for a while?
He was sick for a while. He had like liver disease, liver cancer from copious amounts of drinking and whatnot. So doctors gave him, like 3 to 6 months to live. He said, I don't want to die here in the US. He went back to the motherland. Said, I'm going to die back home. And he stuck it out there. We had round the clock service for him. And, he was happy there because all of his friends, his family, people coming by all the time versus on Maui, there were like 9 Lao families and they were all busy with their businesses and all over the place on the island. So nobody really came by. So he was lonely at home. It's like, I'm going to go back to the motherland. And he was having a great time, having good care, cheap care. Yeah. And he lasted another like 3-4 years. It was rough because at the time, like my sisters and I, we'd be out here running the businesses.
Oh, he went by himself?
He went by himself. My mother would go back and forth. She'd stay there for like 6 months and come back. But we'd get the call every once in a while, like, hey, your dad's not looking good. He's not going to make the weekend, drop everything and come over. So we'd shut down the restaurants and fly over. At the time, it was like a 27-hour flight, including the delays and whatnot. By the time we get over, like he recovered and he's fine. So like we just dropped everything, went halfway across the world and we're here and he's, back up and running again. So, come back to Hawaii. Several months later, we get the call again, drop everything again. It was a rough time. Yeah. But he finally passed. And yeah, I remember pulling over the side of the road. I teared up, didn't really cry. Like, oh, my dad passed away. I kind of teared up. It was kind of out of sight, out of mind. Really didn't have that close relationship to begin with. But I mean, other than that, the biggest memory I have of him is probably when I was really young, 3rd, 4th grade-ish time. He'd take me on the weekends sometimes to go help him out when he's doing gardening work or whatever. I'd be there with the rake, raking up the grass after he cut it. And the best memories I had was the lunch break, going to McDonald's, getting a Happy Meal and a hot fudge sundae. That was the bonding time that I had. That was probably the only time I had as father-son, like actual father-son bonding time. Other than that, it was always this dynamic of, boss and employee.
So would it be in your family then that between you and your dad that work was the only connection?
Pretty much.
Or like the main one?
The main one.
So then could it be that unconsciously in your system, you bring work home because you feel like maybe that's going to be connecting, but then it doesn't?
Possibly. I mean, working is kind of like all I know,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I've never...
Like, who am I without work?
Yeah.
Like my identity.
Right. Every time I think about, all right, so I'm going to take a break and I'm taking on this role. I'm going to take less work now. I'm going to take less this and it'll be more family. But I can't even sit on the beach, right? Because if I'm just sitting on the beach doing nothing, I get very fidgety and anxious. Like I need to be doing something. When I'm at the beach, like I'm fishing. Because if I'm fishing, I'm always tying a lure. I'm always tying something. I'm doing something. But just to sit there and do nothing, like I have a hard time just sitting and doing nothing.
So what about your mom then? What would be your most important memory with your mom?
The memory that sticks out about my mother was right around 5th, 6th grade, before we moved to Maui. I guess my parents were having marital issues. She had had enough one day and she had broke down crying, called my sisters and I together and be like, hey, I'm going to leave your father. Like, I can't deal with this. We're kids, right? What's wrong? Like, why are you leaving? She's like, nothing she does is good enough for him. She's too stupid. She can't do this. She can't do that, whatever. Like, he doesn't respect her, doesn't see that she's contributing and pulling her weight for the family and whatnot, all that sort of stuff. It was one of those things where like, hey, my bag's packed. Are you staying with your dad or are you going with me? Kind of a deal. No, all those kids are like, we're going with you, Mom, because dad's an asshole. Like, we don't want to stay with that guy, right? So we're going to go with you. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, so it was kind of that. And we were like on the way out and I don't remember exactly what happened, but I guess she got the talk with the community and whatever, like, just stay with the guy. And we wound up continuing to stay with him. And I don't know if it's the Lao Southeast Asian stuff or the dynamic of being coworkers that kept them together, but they wound up staying together in what seems like a, and I don't know how much of Lao marriages at that time involved love or anything like that, other than it being like a contractual thing, which, it kind of was. But yeah, I mean, I just, think back to her crying and talking about how she felt she wasn't good enough and was being told she wasn't good enough. That's the one memory that sticks out all the time. The other memory of my mother is the motivating thing. When she was leaving Laos at the time, she had to do that whole thing where, in the middle of the night when there's no moon, she, my grandmother, my older sister, who was like 3 years old at the time, and a couple other people from the village, jumping into the Mekong River to go cross it over to Thailand. And, doing this in the middle of the night, blowing up trash bags as a flotation to float down the river because the commies were shooting at people that were trying to defect and whatnot. And, I find out later that the discussion with my father was, because my father was a military man, his godfather was higher up and whatever, that he needed to settle some affairs before heading over. So, my mother goes first with her mother-in-law, my grandmother, my father's mother, and my sister and everything. So they're out in Thailand and, she doesn't know anybody. She's hanging out with the community people and whatnot, waiting for my father, which was supposed to take like, a couple of weeks, wound up being, several months. And there was this moment where one of the uncles from the village that my mother grew up in was like, hey, you need some help or whatever, and I'll help you out. And it's like, I need some money to go buy food or blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh yeah, give me your gold. I'll go exchange it and bring you back the money. And my mother being, young, 20-something-year-old, pregnant, a kid, got my grandmother and all that stuff. Like, oh, this uncle from the village, like, yeah, I can trust you, right? Gives him the gold to go fence it, to go exchange for Thai baht and stuff like that. Guy runs away with the money, right? So then it becomes, my mother pregnant with me at the time, got the, 3-year-old, got my grandmother, all that stuff, like no money in Thailand, no family, no whatever. Dad is God knows where. Maybe he got killed already. What do I do? And she's like, oh, it's like couple days with eating very little, and she's crying on the side of the road. Like she smells the restaurant. It's like, oh my God, the food smells so good. I'm so hungry. Like, what do I do? I'm going to die here and all that stuff. This is a story she tells me all the time, right? I still persevered. I went and, like chopped wood, and I went and collected this and that. I went and sold it, and I made, what I could to survive and bring you to America. And Johnny, you can't even mow the goddamn lawn this weekend for me. What the hell? She tells me that story all the time. That's like after telling me, 20 times to go do something and I don't do it. Then she starts telling me, like, all right, Mom, I get it. Like, you're going to tell that story again. I got it. I'll go do it. But yeah, that story, I think, the sacrifice of my mother, right? Like the many sacrifices of my mother. That's kind of what I guess I remember of her.
How did she make it out then?
Eventually, my father was able to get over. When he came over, the U.S. military was shipping the refugees out, made it into those lines, and the servicemen asked my parents, like, where do you want to go? Because there were lines to different areas of the country and whatnot. And again, my dad didn't speak any English, right? He spoke French, though. The serviceman basically told him, you want to go cold or you want to go hot? And my dad goes hot. So we got on a plane and he ships us over to Hawaii. Huh. My father's sister and her family went cold, and they wound up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So we got the good end of that deal.
You're like the second person that I talked to that escaped from, because that was during Vietnam War, right? Yeah, that escaped Vietnam in that. Yeah, you're the second person. Do you know Manu Nguyen?
No.
His mom was talking about, like, they, at the very end or so on, and they're one of the ones, like, reaching up in that human ladder to the helicopter kind of action. And because the dad was helping U.S. troops or whatever, they let them in. Yeah, I can't even imagine that, yeah. So your mom, she lives in Maui still?
No, so after we sold off that last restaurant during the pandemic, we rebuilt the family house out in Eva. So she's back here on island. Yeah.
Oh. And then were you folks affected at all by the fires?
Yeah, my sister's house burned down. She was like a block right off of Lahaina Luna Road at the bottom. So luckily they were cruising with friends out in Kihei that day. So
she didn't have to escape. It just went and so on. Oh, man.
So she was out at the Kihei house, cruising with friends out there. One of my best friends, he wound up evacuating and getting out. Like he went with his dad and his auntie, and who were very elderly. They were like holed up in like Napili with family up there. And he called me like 2-3 weeks after, when he finally got, access to phone and all that whatever stuff. It's like, hey, Johnny, like, thank you for sending me like the text messages and whatever. Because for the people that left, there was zero communication. And it's hard to imagine, like, in this day and age, like being closed off from any sort of communication. It's like, you were sending me text messages and like video and pictures of what was going on in Lahaina. That was the only info that we got at the time. Like, he wasn't able to text out saying, I'm okay, but he was able to receive, right? So it's like, you were sending me all this whatever stuff, and like, I was sharing with the people that were there. That was the information that we got.
I think that the after effects on, when they talk about, it's going to take a while from out. I mean, I don't know. It could be a generational thing. I mean, the amount of trauma that happens and it's stuck is probably huge, in my opinion. Yeah. I know that my friend, actually, they're lucky, but then it was so stressful. His sister-in-law, they found her passed away on the sidewalk like a week later. Oof. Nobody even knew. And then it was like the sun was so hot on that black and so on that all her skin was coming, and they didn't even know. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're going to see this kind of trauma stuff. It's going to be a while. Might be forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's ending this on a high note. I just want to acknowledge you, because since I've known you always put everything you have into people that you care about. The students are one. I watch you with your family. I know you love them, you care for them. And then I watch how you treat my oldest son like he's your own. And that has been really important to me, because I want, the best for my own kids and so on. So I want to acknowledge you and thank you for that, and many years of friendship. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, then you just let me know.
Awesome. Likewise. Thank you for having me on here and allowing me to share.
Yeah. If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.